Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope everybody out there is doing really well. Hope you've had a great day or a great evening or whatever. And today we're talking about 5 different designer fragrances that smell expensive or smell niche. And I know those things don't always go hand in hand. Smelling expensive and smelling niche. They don't always necessarily go like this, but for the purposes of the video, that's what we're going with. So basically each one of these fragrances smells more expensive than what it's going to cost you, or it smells niche, a little more unique, higher quality, you might say, than what it's going to cost you. So all that out of the way, let's jump into this and check these out. Let me know below in the comments a fragrance that you think smells much more expensive than what it costs, or a fragrance that maybe is a designer or is not too expensive but smells like a niche fragrance. Not necessarily a clone or an inspiration kind of fragrance, but something that if it were released by a niche brand, you wouldn't question it. You'd just be like, yeah, absolutely. First, fragrance. This one at one point in time was actually pretty heavily hyped on Facebook, on YouTube, on forums. People really loved this one when it first gained traction in the community. And so what happened with all that hype is it sold out at pretty much everywhere you would normally buy this fragrance. And then the prices started to creep upwards. Yeah, they started to go up a lot, actually, which is something I've seen happen over and over and over again with cheap fragrances. They get really hyped and then sell out. For example, Perry Ellis Black Vanilla Absolute in their Oud line of fragrances, that one got really hyped, then sold out, then was impossible to find, and people were really charging high prices for it. Got back in stock, it was low again, and then it actually sold out again, and now it's really hard to find. So not really like the fragrance I'm talking about here, but kind of, in a way. This one is 24 Gold by Scent Story. And this one smells similar to some other fragrances out there. It smells similar to Ragba by Lattafa Perfumes, which is another one that you can find for not that much, and smells similar to Oud Save the King by Atkinson's, which is a niche fragrance, which is gonna cost you a lot more than this one. This one has vanilla, amber, oud, gaiac wood, and sandalwood as some of the notes in the fragrance. And for me, it has always had beast mode performance. Great longevity, great projection, to the point that if I spray this on 5, 6, 7 times, I'm not gonna get good reactions. Yeah, people are not gonna like that. So this is a fragrance I spray maybe 3, 4, 5 times if I'm feeling lucky. Like I said, just really strong, and I have had some people have negative reactions to this when I've sprayed it on too much. So that's one of the main reasons I don't go too heavy with it anymore. Some people online though will say that this has been reformulated, that it's not as strong as it used to be, and that made its way around all the forums, all the groups as well, and people actually reached out to Scent Story, the brand that makes this fragrance, and they said, no, there's never been a reformulation on this. It's the exact same now as it's ever been. So it's up to you whether you believe them or not. And that's the first one on this list, 24 Gold. Also, that one would work really well in winter. Pretty much all these fragrances would work really well in winter. Second fragrance is one I really love. It made my fall top 10 list this year. It is M7 Oud Absolute by Yves Saint Laurent. This is essentially a re-release of M7, their classic fragrance that they discontinued, that was released when Tom Ford was the creative director of YSL. Now, M7 Oud Absolute doesn't smell the exact same as vintage M7, but it gets you really close. And it's as close as you're gonna find right now without just buying a vintage bottle of M7. It has oud, patchouli, myrrh, and labdanum as some of the notes in the fragrance. It is a fantastic scent for fall and winter. You can easily wear this formally. You can wear it to the office. You can wear it casually. I know that oud is in the name and oud is the main note in the fragrance, but it's still easily wearable. To me, Oud Absolute smells much more expensive than what you're gonna pay for it. Now that being said, Oud Absolute is more expensive nowadays from discounters than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You used to be able to find this one in the high 40s, low 50s range. Nowadays, when it's at discounters, looks like it's going for around 80. So that's not cheap. It's not an inexpensive designer as far as typical designer prices at discounters go, but it is absolutely worth it. Fragrance number 3 is a fragrance that does not get talked about all that much, but is very, very nice, very high quality. It is Armani Odenui. It has iris, pink pepper, cardamom, nutmeg, and tonka as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one does lean a little bit more toward the mature side of things versus the youthful side of things. As I mentioned, iris is one of the main notes in the fragrance, but not really what I would consider the focal point of the fragrance. It's more so about the tonka and the spices, and then the iris plays a very big supporting role. It's one of the nuances in the fragrance, but it's not really what the fragrance is about, if that makes sense. The performance is solid here. The quality is very high. It's very smooth. It's great, as I mentioned, for fall and winter. The scent is a killer, and it is completely overlooked. So Oud Absolute, definitely one to keep on your radar if you're looking for something that does have a little more maturity to it, that smells extremely high quality, and as I mentioned, is very smooth, something that you can easily wear formally dressed up, or if you have the confidence, you could wear it casually as well. Number 4 is a fragrance that's gotten a bit of hype, a bit of love for being a very high quality cheapie. It's from the house of Frankolivier, and it is Oud Touch. It has rose, amber, patchouli, olibanum, and caramel as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one gets compared to Oud Absolute by Christian Dior, which is much more expensive than this. It has a big opening of rose with fruitiness that comes across like raspberry, a bit of caramel there in the opening as well, and a bit of oudiness. So when you first spray this on, you get all of that. Some people are gonna be turned off a little bit by the opening. This one is a fragrance that I think gets better as it dries down, because that opening does come across a little bit harsh to some people. So if you do get this fragrance or ever smell this fragrance, when you first spray it on, if you don't really dig that opening too much, let it dry down a little bit. As it dries down, it does get smoother, it's much more approachable, and in my opinion, smells a lot better. And as it dries down, it gets a little smoky with hints of sweetness and woodiness. In my opinion, smells much more expensive than what you're gonna pay for it. And again, is a nice, considerable alternative to Oud Absolute on a budget. The last fragrance for this list is from the house of Cartier. It's L'Envol de Cartier Eau de Parfum. There's also an Eau de Toilette, but for purposes of this list, we're going with the EDP. This one has iris, gaiac, musk, patchouli, and honey as some of the main notes in the fragrance. And this is one that I bought back when it was new. So I bought this as soon as it was released, and the first time I sprayed it on, I thought, oh, you know, that's nice. And I sat it to the side and really didn't revisit it for quite a while. And then when I did, I sprayed it on and I was just like, holy crap, like how did I sleep on this for so long? It's really, really nice. It opens up fresh with pops of spice and a good dollop of honey in there, good amount of sweetness. Smells really, really, really appealing off the top. I absolutely love it. As it dries down, it becomes a very smooth fragrance, not overly loud, kind of restrained, but at the same time, very alluring, very inviting. It just has this residual sweetness from the opening to the dry down. More of it in the opening with that honey, that big honey pop, but it still stays there. Almost like honey kind of dripping or running down. It just kind of stays there into the base. And then as it does dry down, you get more iris, woods, and patchouli kind of mixing in with the honey. Really nice stuff, very classy. That touch of sweetness makes it more appealing to more people. Great scent. Smells much more expensive than what you can pick it up for at discounters. And then it has a really nice presentation as well. A couple different bottle styles with it. The one that I have is the one that has like a thin glass wall almost around the bottle, which goes up, and it looks strange me doing this, goes up inside the glass, and then the bottle sits there kind of floating like that. Then they have a more traditional looking bottle with thick glass that looks kind of like this. Kind of an interesting bottle size on that as well. If I recall correctly, 2.7 ounces. And that fantastic Cartier is going to wrap up this list of 5 fragrances that I think smell much more expensive than what they cost, or could even smell niche. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all of your support. It means the world to me. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.